Just tell everybody what to sketch. That will be doing some till push Monday at 1 o'clock. There'll be an offering to Srila Prabhupada. There'll be an offering to our visit. That offering will then be shared with Srila Prabhupada. So that's and then we'll be here our street gardeners.
This one's set up with
I know. I said this one's set up
with the mic.
Needs to be turned on. And then this one is blinking. Yes, that's good. That yeah. You should speak on Prabhupada, especially in Henry Street, especially in Brooklyn, especially here in New York. Nice walks, Prospect Park.
Smara Hari.
You your Prabhupada. I think we never met.
Never. Till now.
No, but I've seen some of your writings.
Guilty as charged.
Impressive.
Guilty as charged.
Oh, you're gonna hook me up? Ah, boy, everybody's so far away. Maybe I should move closer. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It's not on. Hare Krishna. No. This is not. Got a. This a wireless? Ah, Hare Krishna. Everybody's sitting so far away. There's nothing. Okay. That's gotta hurt. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, nothing yet.
No, nothing.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I could go on all day. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Oh, that's working. That we know for sure.
You know this one works.
Okay. How's that? Uh-oh. Can you elevate this a little bit? Raise this up? Yeah, because otherwise I'll be looking at it, looking down. Yes. Is it on now?
Now you want that? Yeah.
It's on. Is it on?
Yeah. Now he's turning on.
Oh, he's turning it on now?
Elevation.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah, it's good.
wow.
One more.
That's okay. Haribol Prabhu, you better speak after me. You're going to speak, right?
Yeah.
That's why I can, actually. To hear you speak. It's okay. Hare Krishna. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravane Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavane Paschat Umagana Timanandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksura Militam Dina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Gadem Yakripatam Vande Shri Guru Today is a very solemn day, and I usually have mixed feelings on this particular day. Srila Prabhupada's entering Tirobhav Mahotsav, is entering the eternal abode of Krishna, leaving us behind, but not really leaving. He has simply moved on, but we keep him in our hearts. That is the relationship. That the spiritual master, he is the eternal spiritual master, the supreme personality of servitor Godhead. Yasya deve parabhaktir yata deve tatavanam tasyate kaditaya kasante mahatma. We have to have that faith that Srila Prabhupada is still with us. He has not abandoned us. We understand from Srila Prabhupada's speech about his spiritual godbrother, who also was his sannyas guru, Keshav Maharaj, when he left this world, it was 1968, and Srila Prabhupada said that he has gone to be with Krishna and Radharani in their eternal pastimes. So we can think about Srila Prabhupada in that light. If Srila Prabhupada continued to preach within the material world, that would have been on the order of Lord Krishna, and he would have followed that order. Maybe reluctantly, I don't know, but he did not enjoy doing so much austerity in this world. And so Krishna made all the arrangements for his comfort. He always had a comfortable place to stay, to work, to translate, to preach, to travel. He had all the accommodations. I remember he was asked, how many temples do you have around the world? And he said, I have 80 temples in all the major cities in the world. And then he was asked, well, which of them do you consider your home? And he said, my home is back home, back to Godhead. Because in each of the temples, there was Prabhupada's room. Even in Paris, our first temple was in Fontenay-aux-Roses. Srila Prabhupada came there in 1971 from Moscow. He had seen Professor Kotovsky, who was the head of the Indology department. And even though he was very educated, Professor Kotovsky had no idea that the soul was eternal and is transmigrating through all different species. He thought that when this life ends, there's nothing more to be said. And that's a big professor of Indology. So Srila Prabhupada was shocked. Similarly, in France, he met with Cardinal Danielou. And Cardinal Danielou, Prabhupada wanted to convince him that meat eating is not permissible. Even in the conversation between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Chankazi was saying, oh, in the Vedas, there are sacrifices that are prescribed so that an animal can be killed in the sacrifice. And Prabhupada said that was to show the power of the mantras, that by mantra, you could transform that soul to a different body that was rejuvenated totally. But it was not to supply food. And so he said that was also forbidden in this age. So he defeated the Chankazi. And Cardinal Danielou, he could not be defeated because he didn't have the common sense to accept the teachings of the pure devotee who represents Krishna wholeheartedly. He never says anything that is contrary to Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. So the Cardinal Danielou was saying that's enough talk about killing animals and eating meat. That's another subject. Let's get on to something metaphysical. So you know what Prabhupada said to him? He said, let's discuss metaphysically why you should stop killing animals and eating meat. He kept hitting on that one point again and again. But the Cardinal, he was not persuaded. And eventually he had a heart attack in the home of a prostitute. That's where they found him in the end. So he suffered the reaction to not showing proper respect to Krishna's pure devotee. Anyway, I had wonderful opportunities to associate with Srila Prabhupada. Last time I was speaking here, I was talking about how in the very early days in Paris, that's where I joined, and I was actually born here in Queens, New York, Far Rockaway. And but I was in France because there was a Vietnam War that was going on. And one way of getting out of that, getting a deferment, was to be enrolled in medical school. So I enrolled in medical school in Paris. I spoke a little French, but not really that much to get along with the professors and other students. And then there was a strike, and all the classes shut down, and the professors were on strike, the students were on strike, and the whole atmosphere was very politicized. And so that's when I met devotees, when I had nothing to do. And I was 6,000 miles from home, and nobody could influence me not to join the devotees. So I went to I was following them down the street, And I went up to them and trying to listen into what they were saying, and their accent was incomprehensible. I couldn't understand it. So I went up and I said, "What are you guys doing? What language are you speaking?" I said, "We're speaking in French." One of them was actually French, the other was French Canadian, but I just couldn't understand. And I said, "What are you guys doing?" And they said, "We sing and dance." And they said, "Come and see us." They gave me an invitation, so I started going to the American Center, and I got involved. My first service was to serve the fruit salad to all the guests. The number of guests was increasing week by week. And so that was my introduction to the Krishna consciousness movement. I had a poster of Srila Prabhupada in my apartment. It was a one-bedroom apartment. And the landlord came in. He was a young guy, actually. He saw that poster. He said, "Who's that?" I said, "That's Srila Prabhupada." He said, "Oh, I heard about him. He's God's best friend." So the word was getting out there, and Srila Prabhupada was becoming like a household name all over the world. He was known for his preaching, his having started the chanting from Tompkins Square Park in Washington Square Park. And from there, it just expanded and spread like wildfire. So I didn't get to see Prabhupada for quite a while. I remember that we heard a recording of his singing, Vandeham Sri Guru, like that. It was amazing. I think you sent me a recording of Prabhupada singing Vandeham. And it was quite profound. And the devotees who had never seen Prabhupada, but who were serving him, heart and soul, completely surrendered, they were all in tears just hearing Prabhupada's voice. That's what the power of transcendental sound is. It goes straight to the heart. Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was asking Haridas Thakur, he said, this chanting of Hare Krishna is very powerful and it's transformative, but what about all the living entities who are immobile? And Haridas Thakur said, just chant very loudly because the holy name will penetrate through all the coverings of that spirit soul and go right to the heart of the matter, and they'll be benefited and liberated. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had that power just by looking at you, giving you that sidelong glance or embracing you, and you became completely purified. And your love of God was completely enhanced. It was developed fully. And Srila Prabhupada had that potency to spread love of God. That was the whole purpose of the Krishna consciousness movement. And then Srila Prabhupada, finally, he did come to Paris, and that's where I joined again. And I just wanted to tell you one story about how he was on a morning walk, and when he came back, there was just a small group of us around him, and there was an atelier, like a garage, separate from the house. It was a one-family house, and there were 40 devotees living in it. To give you an idea how many devotees had joined in just 1 year. 1 year earlier, there were just 3 of us. When we rented that house, it was just myself, Hari Vilas Prabhu, and Jai Krishna, 3 of us. So Prabhupada, he was looking at the 2 buildings, and he said, build a roof between these 2 buildings. And there was the wall of the atelier had a big window in it. And Prabhupada said, I will come back in 2 weeks to install deities of Radha and Krishna. In 2 weeks. None of us had even seen Prabhupada before. What to speak of we didn't have Brahmin initiation, we didn't have any experience in deity worship. I'll come back in 2 weeks to install Radha and Krishna deities. Tell Rishi Kumar to send them here, and I'll come back. He said, we'll install them in this atelier, and people will come into this covered area where you have the roof, and they will look through the glass window and watch the pujari perform arti to the deities. So amazing, just amazing. You know, when Prabhupada would say something, it was for real. He was not pulling your leg. He was telling you like it is, and you simply had to follow. And when Prabhupada would give a direct instruction, I remember when I asked Srila Prabhupada a question on a morning walk, I said, Srila Prabhupada, he's just about to get into his car. And I said, who is the devotee's greatest enemy? And I was thinking he might say, well, the mind, if not controlled, is the greatest enemy. Or that he might say the communists. He didn't like communism at all, except spiritual communism. He thought that was great. But he said, when I asked him, who is the devotee's greatest enemy? He said, himself. That was his answer. It's very direct. And then he said, if you are not able to give up your mundane activities and the false ego and your desire for sense gratification, you are your greatest enemy. So I took that to heart. I mean, it was very penetrating. And Prabhupada had that power over his disciples that they would do anything. They would take a bullet for him if it came to that. They were always concerned, where is Srila Prabhupada? What's he doing now? And they all wanted to know, what did he say? And, we had a Sankirtan newsletter, and the word was going out every month that Prabhupada said that we should double our book distribution every year. So they made a button that said 1 + 1 = 2, double it. Did you ever see those? So that book distribution was the most important thing, the most important project. And a devotee wrote to him and said, is it okay if we stop chanting parties, and just have everybody distribute books? And Prabhupada said, I never said that chanting should stop. He said, all of the programs are important. None of them should be stopped. The book distribution, that is the Brihat Mridanga. The regular Mridanga, that was being played here, can be heard around the block, maybe a few streets away if you really bang it hard. But the book, Brihat Mridanga, that is forever, that is everlasting. And that will go from hand to hand, home to home, community to community, country to country. In fact, when I was in Israel, we got arrested, and one of the devotees stayed with a policeman because he had a 4-year-old son. So the policeman said, we can't put the kid in jail, have him come to my house, and they could stay overnight in my place. So they went there, and the father of this little boy was looking through the man's library. He was a policeman. And he saw Srila Prabhupada's Chaitanya Charitamrita in this policeman's house in Tel Aviv. And he asked him, where did you get that book? And he said, oh, I was visiting New York, and this young man came up to me, and he gave it to me for a small donation. So that happened right here in New York. This was the focal point. This was like the lighthouse for observing what's going on in the Hare Krishna movement. Prabhupada could take the pulse of the whole movement just by seeing the devotees and what their mood was, and if they were happy. Prabhupada said to us in Paris, he said, I know that Krishna is happy. Why is that? Because I see that all of you are happy. So I know Krishna is also happy. But we know that when the spiritual master is happy, that's how you know Krishna is happy. So just to move along, I don't know how much time I have, but I'm not even halfway through what I was going to say. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the Amsterdam Temple. I was the temple president there for a while. And we had installed deities of Gornatai and Radha and Krishna, Shri Radha Gopinath. And then it was Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja Day. In August of 1977, Srila Prabhupada was at the Bhaktivedanta Manor. And we had a deity of Srila Prabhupada, a solid granite, weighed about 150 pounds. It was not life-size, it was about this big. And the devotee had painted it very nicely, so it looked like real life. And the hands were in the position of playing kartals. So that came from India. And I thought, well, this would be a good day to install the deity of Srila Prabhupada on the Vyasa-san. This had never been done before in ISKCON. There was no deity of Prabhupada on the Vyasa-san while Prabhupada was present. So Prabhupada was in Bhaktivedanta Manor, and I called up to ask permission if we could install that deity. Prabhupada said, yes, we could do it. And then I asked, how do we care for that deity? We had a regular fire ceremony, and he said, just change the outfit when it looks crumpled. That was the word he used, like not ironed. And he said, you don't make offerings as you would to the deities on the altar. And so it was very simple. There was nothing ornate really about that. So we had that ceremony, and that was in August. Srila Prabhupada left this world in November 14th, 1977. And before that, during that 2-month period, September, October, November, a 3-month period, we were having kirtan in the temple room, and this is an old building, and when we would dance, the floor would move. So when the floor moved, the Vyasa-san moved. And when the Vyasa-san moved, Srila Prabhupada was also going back and forth like this during the kirtan with his kartals. So it was an amazing experience when I had to call all the devotees back to the temple. So we had 3 traveling Sankirtan parties. It was Malati's party with some of the ladies. They were distributing books in Scandinavia, actually in Denmark, in that area. And we had 2 traveling parties in Belgium. And the book distribution was phenomenal there. And we had one party that went out daily. They had a van, and they went out daily and came back to the temple. And then we had a Harinam party that went out daily on the streets of Amsterdam. So it was really comprehensive. And I had to call everybody back. I had found out from devotees in the manor that Srila Prabhupada had ended his pastimes in this world. So I called them back. I didn't tell them, but they had a suspicion. And I asked them all to come back to the temple. And that same morning, we had received a book that was a compilation of all of Prabhupada's teachings about preaching. It was called Preaching is the Essence. Have you seen that book, Maharaj? Preaching is the Essence. So all the devotees were there in the temple room. And I told them, this book just came in. I wanted to read something from this book, just to kind of set the mood, just to keep our focus. And then when I finished reading, I said, I have an announcement to make that Srila Prabhupada has left this world. And he has gone back to the spiritual world to be with Krishna and Radharani in those transcendental pastimes that he told us everything about. And the devotees were, I mean, it was like they were hit by lightning. And the amazing experience that I had was that I was looking at the deity of Srila Prabhupada, and I felt a jolt. And it was like a bolt from the blue, you could say. And I didn't know what had happened, but it was like the energy of Srila Prabhupada's presence was fully manifested in the deity. It became completely on the transcendental platform, how we would, in the future, begin to interact with Prabhupada on the Vyasa-san. It was much different. So we were very fortunate that no one else had that opportunity to offer arti to a deity of Srila Prabhupada on the day of his disappearance from this world. So right after that, I went to Israel to open a temple there, first temple, and went to Tel Aviv because actually it was the GBC man, his name was Bhagavan Prabhu, had spoken to Prabhupada telling him that he was having problems with the devotees in France, and he was thinking that he could go to Israel to open the center. And Prabhupada said, no, you stay put. I have plans for you. Just find somebody else. So he found me. And he said, oh, you can go to Israel, open the temple there. So I had a vehicle. It was a Hanuman Henschel engine, a Mercedes. No, actually, a Hanuman Henschel body with a Mercedes engine. So it was pretty powerful. And we drove, myself and Rasada, Guna Avatar, and Shalagram met us in Israel. And we drove through we drove to Germany. That's where we picked up Guna Avatar. Drove through Austria and Innsbruck. I sent a telegram to a devotee I thought might be in Israel. His name was, I can't remember it. Dina Dayal, I think his name was Dina Dayal. And I didn't know if he would get that. I sent it to the Poste Restante. It's at the post office. They hold mail for people that don't have a mailbox. And then we took a boat because we couldn't, we were Jewish by birth, and we couldn't drive through the Arab countries to get to Israel. So we had to take a boat from Venice to Haifa. And so when we got there was a devotee waiting for us. It took us 4 days to get there. And it was Dina Dayal, and he had cooked this big pot of sweet rice. He was a great cook. He had been cooking for prasadam distribution in Amsterdam. Big pot of sweet rice with sliced almonds, rose petals. I mean, it was incredible. And then he took us to a place that he had kind of squatted in Tel Aviv. And he had taken an electric wire from the outdoor electrical supply and brought it into the house. So we had some electricity in a couple of rooms. So that day, the police came and arrested us all for stealing electricity from the government. So we spent a day in jail. Then when we got out, we took a bus. They were old buses, like old New York buses from the 1940s. And we took a bus back to Tel Aviv. And I was listening to the radio. And on the radio it said, the Hare Krishnas have just arrived in Amsterdam and they have already been arrested for stealing electricity from the government. So this is being broadcast on the news. Also, we had a movie production company in Amsterdam film us on Harinam. And they weren't recording the sound, just filming the activity at Dam Square. Then we made an arrangement for them to come to the temple to record a kirtan in the backyard to get the real great reverberation and acoustics was fantastic. So when we got to Israel, it was a very auspicious time because Sadat, the president of Egypt, had just been there. And the same week, the movie, which was called Uranium Conspiracy, where they had filmed us at Dam Square and recorded us in the backyard kirtan, that movie came out in Tel Aviv. So the people, when they saw us chanting on the streets of Tel Aviv, they threw money. They were all throwing bills and coins at us while we were coming down the street. We weren't just standing in one place. We didn't put a hat out. They were just throwing money at us. It was unbelievable. So my point is that to preach Krishna consciousness means that you will experience great joy in life. It is the summum bonum, the perfection of life, to preach Krishna consciousness, to spread the glories of the holy name. I remember seeing a picture in the Bhaktivedanta Bhumi Body Prabhu right there, leading the Harinam party with Pragosh, coming down Broadway, around 45th Street. That was the life of our movement. That's how the movement spread. How did it start spreading? Srila Prabhupada was playing a pair of cartels. And from there, Tompkins Square Park, Washington Square Park, the movement just spread all over the world. And it was, Prabhupada wrote to me, I think I was in Geneva at the time. We opened a center there too, in Switzerland. Prabhupada wrote, he said, a Japanese philosopher said recently that if our movement continues to grow at the present rate, in 10 years, it will be the world religion. And Prabhupada took that very seriously. That was not a joke, because Prabhupada knew this is the potency of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. And it did spread very widely, and it's still spreading now, maybe in a different way, a different strategy, but we have to stick with it. And this is how we'll please Srila Prabhupada. He wants us to take up the mantle. He wants us to take up that mission and make that our life and soul, to spread Krishna consciousness, to spread the chanting of the holy name, to study his book so that we can preach with potency, just as he did. So we want to follow his instructions. We know that there were occasions where Prabhupada said, when I think of the service that devotee has performed in this area, my chest fills with pride. So we want Srila Prabhupada to react that way when he sees our service here at the Radha Govinda Mandir. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Oh, thank you. That was my fault.
Thank you so much, Lord Fernando.
Oh,
Hearing about Srila Prabhupada relieves us of the grief that we felt at that time when the world was ending. Another busy issue on that whole scenario there. We'd like to hear from Joshua, who was there. Well, that means that you're probably traveling. So everyone remembers exactly where they were when the news came. I'll give you the mic. Live stream mic.
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nivishesha Shunyavadi Pastatya Deshatarani. When Srila Prabhupada was with us, we could not think even for one day or 1 hour about Prabhupada leaving us. Prabhupada was directing ISKCON, worldwide preaching. No matter how big the society grew, by letters and by other kinds of communications, Srila Prabhupada was in touch and encouraging his disciples to increase book distribution, to open temples, and to increase Krishna consciousness throughout the entire world. The thought of Prabhupada leaving, for me, seemed catastrophic. Now that 47 years have passed, we can see the preaching genius of Srila Prabhupada. That while we were busy distributing books, busy carrying out the direct instructions of Srila Prabhupada for us, Srila Prabhupada was building a worldwide society that would carry on after he left the planet. So Prabhupada was writing books. Books are the basis of our movement. This society, it's an honor for me to speak to you today from the birthplace of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, which is New York City. Prabhupada was once asked what was his most, actually I'm misquoting, actually our Godbrother Pancharatna Prabhu, he went to Mayapur, and he had been one of the top managers here in New York ISKCON. So when he went to see Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada asked him, "Why are you here?" And Pancharatna said, "I wanted to come to work here in Mayapur in your most important project." Prabhupada said, my most important project is New York. So in Prabhupada's point of view, New York was always the most important temple in the world. This is where he came to establish and to spread Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada was working to write books, to establish temples around the world, and to establish the GBC, which is Prabhupada's direct inheritor of the authority within the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So this is Srila Prabhupada's life's work. So although I felt crushed when I heard the news that Srila Prabhupada had left us, since what we've seen is that Prabhupada had very carefully, very expertly created an international preaching movement which would carry on with his mission for thousands of years. When Prabhupada was ill, Srila Prabhupada said, your love for me will be shown by how you cooperate once I am gone. So this is the duty of every disciple of Srila Prabhupada. Although it's natural that we will disagree, it is essential that we come to agreement and cooperate together to spread Krishna consciousness. ISKCON is Srila Prabhupada's life mission, and to work for the society, to spread the society, to open temples. That is our duty. And we must cooperate with the governing body commission. Srila Prabhupada saw how his own spiritual master's institution was torn apart by individual leading disciples disagreeing. So Prabhupada said, although, speaking to his leaders, Prabhupada said, although one of you can be mistaken, as a group, the GBC will be correct. So we should follow that. So of course, within the material world, we face many difficulties and different kinds of setbacks in developing and spreading the International Society for Krishna Consciousness throughout the world. But the sincerity of the devotees to come together, to cooperate, to spread Srila Prabhupada's movement, we have been able to overcome so many different kinds of setbacks, both here in New York and all around the world. In New York, for myself, I can say that we still have a long way to go. One of Srila Prabhupada's other instructions he gave when he was ill and just before he left, he said, if you cannot expand, that is okay. Maintain what you have. But in New York, we were actually much larger in 1977, at the time that Srila Prabhupada left this world. So our duty as disciples of Srila Prabhupada here in New York is to at least maintain, at least come up to the standard that Srila Prabhupada had established in his lifetime, here preaching in New York City, his most important project. So I am very indebted to all the devotees who are working here in New York, who've come to join us. Some of us Prabhupada disciples have remained in New York, and we also have to continue to shoulder our responsibilities to maintain and to expand Prabhupada's movement here in New York City. Uh, this is the genius and miracle of Srila Prabhupada, that he created a society which could help people all around the world to become Krishna conscious. When Srila Prabhupada first brought a preaching party to India in 1974, they were holding very large Pondo programs at night, and maybe 15,000, 20,000 people would come. So after Prabhupada would speak, he would take questions from the audience, and people would line up to one microphone and they'd ask Prabhupada a question. So a man got to the microphone and he said, "Swamiji, can you show us a miracle?" So this is sometimes Indian mentality. People show some little mystic trick, and then they will be accepted as some kind of guru or avatar. So Prabhupada pointed to his American disciples. He said, "Here are my miracles." So to change the hearts of materialistic people to become devotees of Krishna, this is the real miracle that Srila Prabhupada has performed. And even more astonishing to me, after 47 years, to see how sincere devotees are still carrying on inside the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, Prabhupada's institution, that Prabhupada dedicated his entire life to build and to see that it would continue after he left this planet. Prabhupada knew that he had limited time. It's incredible that Prabhupada came to New York in 1965 and he left this planet in 1977. But still established Krishna consciousness throughout the entire world. As one professor wrote a book titled The Hare Krishna Explosion. So this was Prabhupada's spiritual energy expanding through his disciples. Although we were just foolish boys, Prabhupada instructed us to open temples, to distribute books, preach around the entire world. And we did that without question, and in many cases without qualification. This is Srila Prabhupada's mystic power, as this man asked, "Where are your miracles?" So this is the miracle that we are carrying on still together and cooperating together with ISKCON worldwide to glorify Srila Prabhupada and to spread Krishna consciousness throughout the entire world. Thank you very much.
Our MC seems to have disappeared. Would you like to speak next, Prabhuji?
Are we doing our offerings or what?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. What's that? Hare Krishna. So I wrote a Vyasa Puja offering earlier this year. Krishna consciousness, for me, is a journey that I met Prabhupada when I was young. I think I was about 23 or 24 years old. And when I met Prabhupada, I had no idea who Prabhupada was. I'd never heard of him. I didn't know anything about Krishna consciousness. And I had been searching for something that would change my life. And I thought I had found it on a number of occasions, but turned out after some time passed that really my life had not substantially changed. But what's ironic is that on the day my life actually did change, I didn't notice any difference. It passed by completely under my radar. But it would gradually prove to be a very different life for me after that. It took 2 years. I saw Prabhupada at a Rath Yatra in San Francisco. And then the next year I also came to that Rath Yatra, but Prabhupada wasn't at that Rath Yatra that year. And shortly thereafter, I became involved with the devotees. I went to the temple in Berkeley, and I felt the need for some desperate change in my life, and I thought that I would spend a little time in the temple, and that would be what would help me to understand where I needed to go next. But of course, I never really left, and at that point, my whole life changed when I moved into the Berkeley temple. So, I wrote this. These things are kind of better read than they are recited, but I'll try to see if I can get it across. I reread it a couple of times this morning to try to get some of the points across. Because as Krishna consciousness goes on, I understand things at a deeper level, and I change. The world changes. And my understanding of Krishna consciousness deepens. As I say in this little section here, some of the teachings of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam are very easy to grasp. They're pretty straightforward. While others seem very mysterious. And that's what I'm going to talk about here. About my trying to come to grips with Krishna consciousness at a deeper level. I think all of us have a certain understanding of Krishna consciousness on a intellectual level. Oftentimes, devotees, especially if you speak or give classes like I do, you can rattle things off. But there's another world, a deeper world, beyond those things that we rattle off, which sometimes we experience, and most of the time doesn't seem to be there. Dear Srila Prabhupada, it is strange that someone like me can think that we understand Krishna consciousness. And then a few years later, Krishna consciousness can seem like such a different place.
This is undoubtedly because I myself am changing as I continue the journey. Since this is a journey of consciousness, as my own consciousness changes, the world seems remarkably different to me as well. Why do I even care about Krishna or Krishna consciousness? I don't see Krishna. And if I examine my own consciousness, I see only those two-dimensional representations of God that are mostly leftovers from my Catholic upbringing. God is an order giver and a punisher, unyielding, unknowable, and remote. Only when I turn on my intellectual circuits do I philosophically come to see and experience a believable God, a God that makes rational, philosophical, and emotional sense. We read in Srimad Bhagavatam that Krishna is sweetness. Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 42nd chapter, text 4, 10.42.4. We read in Srimad Bhagavatam that Krishna is sweetness. And I know that one day that adjective will not just be letters on a page of the Bhagavatam. Krishna consciousness is not just a collection of philosophical ideas. It is an experience. Though my intelligence and experience seem bankrupt, I must be experiencing something, or I would not have stayed all these years. I can ask myself the question, what exactly am I experiencing? And then suddenly my blank page of consciousness opens up into many words. There is a Krishna conscious experience beyond the Krishna conscious philosophy, yet pointed to by that. This consciousness develops. When I first joined Krishna consciousness, I read the words, and these are from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5, text 8 to 9. A person in divine consciousness, although engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, moving about, sleeping, and breathing, always knows within himself that he actually does nothing at all. Because while speaking, evacuating, receiving, or opening and closing his eyes, he always knows that only the material senses are engaged with their objects, and he is aloof from them. So I'll just reread that. That's directly out of Bhagavad Gita, the purport, not the purport, the text itself. A person in divine consciousness, although engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, moving about, sleeping, and breathing, always knows within himself that he actually does nothing at all, because while speaking, evacuating, receiving, or opening or closing his eyes, he always knows that only the material senses are engaged with their objects and that he is aloof from them. This is not the easiest verse in Gita. Something about it, though, something about it spoke to me deep inside, like a cipher or a riddle. I could relate to this verse, though I couldn't understand exactly what it was saying. Even that such a thing could be said, it meant that someone somewhere must have had that experience that corresponds to the words of this text. The English language is not easy and straightforward when mysterious internal states of affairs are described. You would not expect to see such a statement scrawled on a subway wall or as a title for a TikTok video short, nor would you expect to hear two people sharing it at a bar in Starbucks. Words paint a picture of experience, Such experiences are either personally had direct or recounted by someone other who has personally had them indirect. And, of course, some experiences are common to most people, while other experiences are esoteric, not commonly experienced. Not only are some experiences not commonly experienced, but these experiences usually involve an internal situation that the English language does not have off-the-shelf terms for. In general, English is a language that is not conventionally used to describe the inner world. To speak of this inner world, one must resort to poetic and metaphoric terms and styles if the intention is to carry on using the English language. Your teachings, Prabhupada, made in your purports, say many concepts that are very immediate and directly grasped. But then there are some teachings that are mysterious. When suddenly a mysterious teaching becomes an inner realization, then Krishna consciousness becomes a different place. Krishna consciousness becomes a different place. The world itself becomes a different place. With a change in attitude, the world suddenly becomes a different place. With a change in attitude, the world suddenly becomes a different place. Then Krishna consciousness must be something like a search for the perfect attitude. When we speak of such shifts in perspective in our Krishna conscious philosophy, this is what is meant by the KC concept of theoretical knowledge becoming realized knowledge. Theoretical knowledge becoming realized knowledge. When something that was obscure suddenly becomes obvious, then Krishna consciousness becomes a different place. But I also become a different person, and the world suddenly becomes a different world. Things change starkly when our false attachment to the material is severed. Our perception of our place in the world also changes starkly when our realization of being the body is removed. Bhagavatam classes abound with such disclaimers of the body. But our inner realizations, maybe not so much. At least I know I speak for myself. So what is changing? The knower, the world, our experience of the world, our consciousness, and our sense of our place in the world as well. The only thing that doesn't seem to change is those words on the page. My world is changing, as is my place in that world. And sometimes I'm not too happy about those changes, but never mind. I'm coming to accept them, though, and grumbling less. Well, maybe not. My recent preoccupation is finding the time to complete all the requirements placed on my roster and wrestling with the grogginess and tiredness that go along with completing them. My other preoccupation is getting rid of this damn frustration. The universe just never follows my perfect plan for it. And then I have to deal with all these knuckleheads, or excuse me, devotees. Could my egotism be any more plain? Maybe actually I'm destined to go back to Godhead after a layover in hell. How often do flights from hell to Goloka depart anyway? That would be a good thing to know. I plan to Google it. However, to one who remembers the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even difficult things become easy, just as one who forgets the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu finds even easy things impossible. So please uplift me and protect me. Nurture me with your nectarian vision. So getting back to Bhagavad Gita 5.8 to 9, the body moves, flow of events cascades sequentially from those events. Every endeavor is covered by some fault, just as fire is covered by smoke. The faults are also a part of the process. The faults of others, as certainly my own as well. One day, the Elmer's glue on my fingers will release, allowing me to accept the whole environment with all the warts that go with it. And I will stop wishing that Krishna consciousness had some kind of OSHA regulations. Then only the material senses will be engaged with their objects, and that I will be aloof from them. Your servant, Chandrasekhara Swami. Hare Krishna. Okay.
We're going to take off the. Yes, we'll just do it. I'll fix it.
Gurave Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Ta Bhaktaya Namo Namaha Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Fraganaftam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radhakrishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnana Salakaya Chakshuru Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manombistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Shrestam Anumapi Sachiputram Atra Surupam Rupam Tishagajam Arupurim Maturim Gostavatim Radha Kundam Girivaram Maho Radhika Madhavasham Rapto Yasha Pratita Kripaya Shri Gurun Tamnatosmi Trinadapi Sunichena Tarodapi Sahishnuna Amani Namana Dena Kirtaniya Sadahari Bhakjavahina Aparada Lakshay Chittasya Kamari Tarangamaje Kripa Maitwam Saranam Prapana Vrinde Namaste Charanara Vrindam Namo Vishnu Vadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Tinamane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharne Nirvasesha Sanyavadi Pastacha Deshatarne Namo Vishnu Vadaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Shrimad Bhaktivedanta Narayani Tinamane Vansha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So I'd like to offer my respectful obeisances to the lotus feet of my Diksha Guru, His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. And also I would like to offer my respectful obeisances to the lotus feet of my Shiksha Guru, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, and offer respects to all Vaishnavas who are, were, or will be in the future. So today we're gathered to glorify His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada, on his Tirobhav Mahotsava. So as I was listening to different devotees giving their glorifications of Srila Prabhupada, it kind of, my trend of thought, because hearing so many wonderful things from the Vaishnavas, it kind of, you're trying to digest everything, assimilate it and digest it. But one of the things I thought about earlier was in our Guru Vastakam prayers, glorification of Guru. Saksad Hari Chainam Samasta Sastra Yuktasya Tabag Yate Vasadvi Kintu Prabhurya Priya Eva Tasya Vande Guru Sri Charanada Vrindam. So Guru Tattva, or Guru is understood to be Saksad Hari. So what is actually Saksad Hari? So Krishna has two aspects, Ashraya Vigraha and Vishaya Vigraha. So what is Ashraya? So the aim and objective of Krishna consciousness is to develop Krishna prema. So Krishna himself is Vishaya Vigraha. He's the supreme enjoyer. But Sri Guru is an expansion of Ashraya Tattva. Who is Ashraya Tattva? Can anyone say? Come on. Who is Ashraya Tattva? Srimati Radhika herself. So Guru Tattva is an expansion of Srimati Radhika because Radharani is the container of Krishna prema or love for Krishna. And when Krishna himself wants to come and taste what that love is, who comes? How does he come? It's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So in our Gurudev's Pranam mantra, Gauravani, what is the Gauravani of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? There's one poetry from Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Arajo Bhagavan Vrajeshas Tanayas Tad Dhamma Vrindavanam. That this Krishna, this is just the first line of the verse, I don't remember the rest right now. But this Krishna, who's the son of Nanda Maharaj, he is our most worshipful object. And just as he is worshipable, so is the land of Vrindavan. The method that he is served by the Vrajaramanīs or the Gopis, especially Srimati Radhika, this is the topmost service. And it says Srimad Bhagavatam is the supreme evidence for this. It says Krishna prema is the ultimate goal of life. Prema Pramato Mahan. They're considered to be four goals of life: Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. But in the second verse of first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, those are kicked out. Why? Because they're considered to be cheating. Why is it cheating? Because one wants to perform Dharma so they can get some reward of economic development, Artha. And with economic development, we can get sense gratification. And when sense gratification is done or waning, before our life ends, we want to be liberated. We want moksha. But this is against the principles of actually pure bhakti or Sudha bhakti. And this is defined by our acharyas, especially Srila Rupa Goswami. Anyabi lasita sunyam jnana kamadi anavritam anakulyena krishnanu shilanam bhakti uttama. So this is explaining what is not bhakti and what is bhakti. Anakulyena krishnanu shilanam bhakti uttama. So the personification of this Anakulyena krishnanu shilanam is Srimati Radhika herself. And all of our Guru Vargas, they're followers of Srimati Radhika in the Gaudiya Vaishnav Sampradaya. So today we're here to honor and worship what our Srila Prabhupada has come to give. And actually, we really don't have the capacity or the ability to glorify him. But some of the points when I heard Lochanananda speaking, it made me think about how, when he said playing kartal and madungas. So Krishna has 4 qualities that no other manifestation have. Not Krishna in Dwarka, not Krishna in Mathura, not Lord Narayan. What are those 4 things? Can anyone say? Venu Madhuri, Rupa Madhuri, Prema Madhuri, and Leela Madhuri. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is none other than Krishna himself, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nayana, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes, the flute also comes as Madanga and Kartal. This is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So the Gauravani, Prabhupada came to give no less than what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give. This Uno Tojvala Ras, Anarpita Chidam Chirat, Karunavatirano Samarpitum Uno Tojvala Ras, Swabhakti Shriyam, Hari Purito Sundara Duti Kadamba Sandipita, Sadar Hridaya Kundade Sparatova Sachinandana. So in this Uno Tojvala Ras, this blazing, this is the service to the love of Srimati Radhika. And Srila Prabhupada came to give this thing. I listened, one of my favorite lectures years ago was to be eager to see Krishna. So in this lecture, Prabhupada quotes one verse from Srila Rupa Goswami. Krishna bhakti rasa bhavitamati kriyatam yadi kutopi labhyate tatralogyam api mulamekalam janma koti sukritiya nalabhyate. So I've described the verse of what is actual bhakti, pure bhakti. Because bhakti can be mixed. Karma Mishra, Jnana Mishra, Yoga Mishra. And Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur said all of these misconceptions of bhakti are our greatest enemies. Misconception is our greatest enemy. So right now, when we come to the process of bhakti, in the very beginning, what is the first thing that we have to do? What is the first word that Lord Brahma heard when he was born from the navel of Lord Narayan, Lord Vishnu? What's the first thing he heard? What was the first sound? Can anyone say? Yeah, tapa. But what is the tapa? Is it standing in the ice cold water or standing in the blazing sun? The first austerity is to give up our independence. The jivas have minute independence. Krishna awards that. But in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna describes what? Sarvadharma parityagya mamekam saranam braja ham tvam sarvapabhivyo mokshayi yamima suchaha. So when we give up that independence, then we can develop saranagati or surrender, accepting things favorable, rejecting things unfavorable, considering Krishna to be my protector, considering Krishna to be my maintainer, giving up everything for Krishna's satisfaction in humility. In one verse, I can remember reading this verse. It says, Krishna consciousness means, this is Madhya Lila chapter 25, text 265. Krishna consciousness means understanding Krishna Tattva, Bhakti Tattva, Rasa Tattva, Bhava Tattva, Prema Tattva, and Lila Tattva. So we're engaged in the process of Vaidhi Bhakti, but ultimately what is the aim and objective is to develop our Bhav Bhakti. Then from Bhav Bhakti, we can go to Prema Bhakti. But how does this come? Bhakti is completely independent. And so when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was speaking to Sanatana Goswami asked him this question. He said, what's more important, sadhana or our endeavor or mercy? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told him both things are necessary. And as we're now in Kartik Vrata, Damodar Vrata, Mother Yasoda wanted to bind Krishna, but she could never bind him in the beginning. The rope was always 2 fingers too short. And this 2 fingers too short represents the endeavor of Mother Yasoda and Krishna's mercy. But when Krishna saw Mother Yasoda was so intent, because she's thinking, if I don't discipline my son, he'll grow up to be a debaucher. He'll be no good. So in the same way, by her endeavor, Krishna's heart melted. So by our endeavor to serve Hari, Guru, and Vaishnavas, Srila Prabhupada, our Guru Varga, they become very merciful. And then proper conception and proper understanding, and Swarup Shakti descends into the heart of the living entity. So by that mercy, no amount of our austerities, no amount of our speaking nicely, none of those things. Krishna makes himself known to whom he wants to know him. But that comes through Guru. I had a conversation with one devotee recently, and it made me remember. Once, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, one gentleman came to see him. Srila Bhakti Rakshak Shridharaj tells this story. And he said, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta asked him, who are you? He said, I'm a Ram Bhakta. He said, under whose guidance are you serving Ram? He said, no, I'm directly serving. Not possible. Because the jiva or the living entity is like the lotus flower. And the sun is like Krishna. And if the lotus flower is not in water like Guru, then the sun will completely wilt the lotus flower. So without the mercy of our Srila Prabhupada, the disciples of Prabhupada, we have no chance. We have no chance without Prabhupada's mercy. So today we're coming together jointly and praying to Srila Prabhupada to please bless us to understand Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojan. So Vanchakopa Charubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhye Vacha Titanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Jai.
So we have
Announcing something.
1 minute.
So much is spoken about Srila Prabhupada, but Gopal Goswami, if you read his Sanskara book, he recommends that on this kind of occasion, which is the disappearance of even your guru or your brother or father or mother, you must chant one mantra, and that I will chant and I am done. And that mantra is Jai Nityam Mahesham Rajat Girinibam Charu Chandravatansam Ratna Kalpojvalangam Parashubhgavarabhiti Hastam Prasannam Padmasinam Samantastutama Amaraganerakrittimbasanam Vishwajam Vishwavanyam Nikhilabharam Panchavatram Trinetram. So thank you very much. because this is just a ritual in Hindus, and Srila Prabhupada was also from India, and even it could be a child and any relative. According to this Sanskara book, you have to chant this, and that's what I did my level best to satisfy myself at least, that I did it for Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Prabhupada.
Yeah.
Now we're going to
He'll do it. His height.
Om Ana Timirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Anmilitan Devam
तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन् इति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती इति नामिने श्री वार्षभानवी देवी दायिताय कृपाब्धये कृष्ण बंध विज्ञान दायिने प्रभवे नमः। माधुर्योज्वल प्रेमाज्य श्री रूपनुगा भक्तिदाम श्री गौर करुणाति विग्रहाय नमोस्तुते नमस्ते गौरवाणी श्री मूर्तये दीनतारिणे रूपनुगा विरुद्ध अपसिद्धांत ध्वांत हारिणे नमो गौर गौर शक्ति स्वरूपाय रूपनुगाय वरायते गौर आविर्भाव भूमे स्वम निर्दिष्ट सज्जन प्रिय वैष्णव भौमो श्री जगन्नाथाय ते नमः। वांछा कल्प कृपा सिंधुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामने गौरत्विषे नमः। पंच तत्व आत्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूप स्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यां नमामि भक्त शक्तिकम। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते जयताम स्तुम रतो पंगो मम मंद मतेर्गति मत सर्वस्य पदम्बोजाओ राधा मदन मोहन दिव्यात वृंदारण्य कल्प द्रुमाद श्रीमान रत्नागर सिंहासनस्थौ श्रीमद राधा शील गोविंद देवौ पृष्ठाभिः सेव्यमानौ स्मरामि श्रीमान रास रसारंभी वंशीवट तदस्थित कर्षण वेणु स्वनेर्गोपेर गोपीनाथाय श्रीयस्तुनाम तत्कांचना गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानु सुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद भूतले पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे इति पुष्पांजलि। नमो नमो विष्णुपादाय विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन इति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे इति पुष्पांजलि। श्री प्रभुपाद की नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन इति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे इति पुष्पांजलि। श्री प्रभुपाद की
There's two in there. No, no, that's all. How about you want to? Yeah, that's.
Bhakti Avatar.
You good?
Bhakti Avatar.
I have not seen it.
Give me the book. Give it to me. Give me the book.
No, we have to shine for group. Oh, for master.
Oh, some sharp.
Some sharp.
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Shila Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Samsaradava, Malalila Loka, Vinaya Karunya, Vinagatam, Samsaradava, Malalila Loka, Vinaya Karunya, Vinagatam, Malalila Loka, Vinaya Karunya, Vinaganatam, Samsaradava, Malalila Loka, Vinaya Karunya, Vinaganatam, Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. Satyakayana Gunanarvadya. Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. Mahaprabhu Kananusagita Parikramadya Bhavatarasena. Mahaprabhu Kananusagita Parikramadya Bhavatarasena. Ramanchakam Pasre Taranga Vajra Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. Ramanchakam Pasre Taranga Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. Vijahara Jananityanama Ingaritana Viramadhanado Vivikrahara Jananada Ingaritana Viramadhanado Yukachivatam Kanindakabe Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. Yukachivatam Kanindakabe Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. Sathudirashi Bhagavad Prasada Sadhamati Sanghari Bhakta Sangham. Sathudirashi Bhagavad Prasada Sadhamati Sanghari Bhakta Sangham. Chittavati Madhukota Dava Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. Chittavati Madhukota Dava Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. Radhika Madhavayor Para Adhoyari Lagunarupanama Radhika Madhavayor Madhuyari Lagunarupanama Patikana Swadhanalipatya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. Patikana Swadhanalipatya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. Jayuda Rati Kheli Siddhaye Jayavudi Jukti Ratataniya Vande Guroshi Charanarabindam Rati Balabhaja Vande Guroshi Charanarabindam Bhaktavari Chanasamastakai Sapataba Jataiva Sadhi Prasara, Hara Prasara, Yasya Prasara, Narati Kopi. Jayam Subham Satyaya Sakti Sangam Vande Guroshi Charanarabindam Jayam Subham Satyaya Sakti Sangam Vande Guroshi Charanarabindam Vande Guroshi Charanarabindam Vande Guroshi Charanarabindam Krishna Putraya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Putrani Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Bhaktatari Sotari See if we can find another Madonna that sounds good. Jaya Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Jaya Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sari Gaura Bhaktivedanta. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivedanta. Oh Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Oh, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Let's go! Come on, second and move. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hey, hey. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya
For anyone who would like more confirmation